Hey everybody, Sean from Media Assault here, and today I wanted to kick off sort of a new monthly topic, if you will, for the month of November 2010. And what I'm going to be doing is reviewing some giant ape movies. And if you're wondering why that is something I want to do in the month of November, there is some significance to that. If you live in the Cleveland area, and or you live anywhere that got the cable channel WOR channel 9 from New York, and you're approximately my age, so you would watch a lot of TV in the mid 70s or early 80s, you may remember Thanksgiving being a time when King Kong and Mighty Joe Young and Son of Kong, King Kong versus Godzilla, a lot of Godzilla movies were played either on Thanksgiving or the day after Thanksgiving. And it kind of got to be sort of a tradition. So I am planning on reviewing the original 1933 King Kong this month, Son of Kong this month, Mighty Joe Young this month. And I may do the 2005 King Kong. I'm not sure yet. I've already done King Kong versus Godzilla. I've already done the 1976 King Kong. But I am definitely going to review those other films. But I wanted to start off today with a film that I hadn't seen before and typically wouldn't be shown during Thanksgiving time, but it is still a giant ape movie, so I'm going to include it in the series. But it's Konga from 1961, and this is a British production. And it is actually the first giant ape movie in color, I believe. This actually predated King Kong vs. Godzilla by a year. This was directed by John Lamont, was produced by Herman Cohen, and it was written by Cohen and co-written by Aben Candle. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Now, Cohen apparently had a reputation for doing a lot of low-budget type horror films. He's actually responsible, along with some other people, for the I Was a Teenage Werewolf, I Was a Teenage Frankenstein films, some other movies like The Headless Ghost and Trog from 1970. So Konga is sort of representative of the type of film he would make, sort of kind of low budget, possibly high on the camp factor. And Konga tells the story of Charles Decker, who is a scientist whose plane goes down in Uganda, and he manages to bail out, but the pilot gets killed. So he manages to survive in the jungle for a year, and then he comes back to England. And everybody's kind of wondering what he was doing down there for a year. And he was apparently working on some sort of theories about carnivorous plants and their DNA being injected into humans. And one thing that's kind of weird about this film is it sort of has this pseudo-scientific stuff that comes up, and the main character, Charles Decker, who's played by Michael Gough, who you may recognize if you've seen any of the Batman movies. He's the guy, the Batman movies from the Tim Burton era, he's the guy that played Alfred. But anyway, Michael Gough's character, Charles Decker, he just keeps babbling about all this pseudo-scientific stuff. And it gets kind of laughable. The dialogue is just hilarious in this movie. But he has this idea that he can provide some scientific benefit in some way by injecting this serum that he creates from the leaves of these carnivorous plants that he brings back with him from Uganda. And he wants to inject them into this baby chimpanzee that he brings back. Apparently he brings back this chimpanzee and all these foreign plant life through customs with no problem whatsoever. But anyway, so he starts injecting this baby chimpanzee, who's nicknamed Konga, with this serum. And it causes the chimp to grow and apparently evolve into a gorilla, or more accurately, a man in a really bad gorilla suit. And that man is George Barrows, who did a lot of work in gorilla suits in the 50s and 60s. But anyway, the plot, it's, like I said, it gets into some weird pseudoscientific babbling, and Michael Gough's character is just hilarious. He's just going on and on and on about how science will stop at nothing and scientists will stop at nothing to make new discoveries, and to the point where he is apparently trying to either justify the fact that his idea of science and research is telling this gorilla, or again, the man in the really bad gorilla suit, to kill people as a test of obedience. Now, if he's documenting all of this stuff for science, I'm assuming that he would have to document the results of his experiments. So I'm guessing he writes in his book, told Konga to kill man by choking. It worked. Yay me. So he would probably indict himself for murder anyway had this all come out fine and dandy. But it doesn't. Things go horribly wrong when a number of things actually go wrong. Gough's character, Decker, has this crush on a female student played by Claire Gordon. Her name is Sandra Banks, which causes all sorts of problems with Sandra's boyfriend, Bob, who's played by Jess Conrad. They all do as good a job as you could expect dealing with this subject matter, but it's pretty bad. And Margaret, the assistant, Decker's assistant, is played by Margo Johns, and she's also as good as you could expect in a film like this. But this is definitely Michael Gough's show. He's chewing through scenery like a termite on speed, man. He's just... The movie is inherently fascinating just to watch his performance because it's so campy, it's unbelievable. The terrible gorilla suits, just kind of put those to the back of your mind if you watch this film, and just watch Michael Gough just go off on everything in his path. I mean, he's hilarious. There's not a lot to like about this film other than the just over-the-top campiness of his performance. It takes a while for the film to kind of get going. There's a lot of unnecessary, like I said, there's a lot of unnecessary psychobabble and scientific babble, and it just goes on and on and on. But it is still kind of worth watching for the camp factor. So the first of my Giant Ape series, Konga, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10, mainly on the strength of Michael Gough's performance. Definitely not for the special effects or the ape suit or the plot, which is awful. But I highly recommend checking it out. Check out the double feature DVD version with Yongari, which I've reviewed in the past as well. It's the Midnight Movies series by MGM. I actually watched Konga on Netflix streaming, but by all means pick it up because the two of those films together would make for an interesting double feature, I think. So that's my review of Konga. Stay tuned, like I said, for other Giant Ape film reviews this month, including the original 1933 King Kong, Son of Kong, and Mighty Joe Young, all coming by the end of the month. So thanks again for watching. As always, check out my other videos here on YouTube, and subscribe if you like what you see. And by all means, post some comments or send me a message and tell me some things you'd like to see me review. And if you're wondering about my Essential Movie series, it isn't done. I have been woefully absent from doing that. So I'm actually going to begin working on that again. And All the President's Men is the next film in that series. So anyway, thanks again for watching, guys, and take it easy.